I spent the week this week with a family in Mobile, Creola to be more specific. And yesterday had the opportunity to go through the lesson with my family. It was enjoyable to hear others talking through the lesson and getting their insight. So as we look at Isaiah 65, 17 through 25 today, title of our literature is God Restores. The text combines elements of what we recognize to be the millennial reign of Christ with the new heavens and the new earth, or eternity, that would be after the last judgment. It's not within my grasp to explain where this will occur in our timeline, but rather to look for what we can glean from the passage. First section is titled A Place of Joy. Verses 17 through 20, we are promised rejoicing, not in the moment, but without end. For there will be no memory of the former things, and there will be no cause for sorrow in the time to come. Then the second section, verses 21 through 23, are titled A Place of Prosperity, and explains that future joys of that age. We see long life and everyone enjoying the labor of their own hands. And then the last section, verses 24 through 25, our author has titled A Place of Peace. Sin will no longer separate from God, for he will answer before we call, and nature will no longer be corrupted by sin, as predators will be at peace with prey. Our memory verse is Isaiah 65:17. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. Our key doctrine is last things. God in his own time and in his own way will bring the world to its appropriate end. And our scripture text is 2 Peter 3:7 through 18. This is it contains one of my favorite passages. If you look down to verse 15, we read that Paul, verse 15 and 16, we read that Peter said that Paul's writings were difficult to understand. But then he goes on to state that people who do not commit to a study of the Scripture, people who are not led by the Spirit, are often wrestle with Scripture. But specifically, what I caught as I looked at this passage is that he was talking specifically about the end times, and that's very interesting to me. That was some good insight that I had not caught before. Isaiah 65:17 through 20. For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more there an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. So as we discussed yesterday, my family and I discussed yesterday, one of the things that came up was understanding where this occurs on a timeline. And I looked for a good timeline. I started to draw one myself, but I do not have the abilities of an artist such that you would get anything out of my drawings. But what I did find was this is a 1914 drawing by Larkin. Clarence Larkin's Book of Charts. And if you drill down on that picture, you see a row that's the premillennialist, which is the view that I hold. And our text has elements of the millennial reign of Christ as well as elements of eternity. This chart calls it the perfect age. Our writer decided to focus not on when, but what the passage means to us. Well, why would he do that? Everybody wants to know when this is going on. When is this going to be? The reason he did it is the same reason that I've got to do it. Because when I've got something that I see part of this makes sense to me here and part of it makes sense to here, I have to realize, I don't understand everything. So if we look at this, we recognize part of what we're reading as applicable to the millennial reign of Christ, and part of what we're reading as applicable in eternity when death will be no more. We have the kingdom age or the millennial reign when we're going to see a state of peace on this earth as Christ reigns upon the earth. And then in the perfect age, we will have everything made new. That will be after the final judgment, and there will be a new heaven and a new earth. So as we move forward in this study, let's look at what we can glean from it rather than exactly when this is going to occur, because when we look at this, it's all future. It's all going to occur after the age that we're in, after the church age. It's going to occur after the tribulation period, so after the rapture, and it will occur after Christ sets up his kingdom upon this earth. Has God promised to renew creation? Yes. He promised a millennial reign when this present world will be restored to pre-flood conditions, and then a complete renewal as described by Peter when the present world is burned up and we get a new heaven and a new earth. Why will there be no more sorrow? First, the wickedness of the past will not be remembered. And second, death will have come to an end. Looking at our second section, Isaiah 65:21 through 23, and they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble. For they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. How would you describe prosperity? Well, food on the table, roof over my head, and not having to worry about losing either. What does it mean to labor in vain? It can either mean that you fail to produce what you are laboring for, or it can mean that you don't get to enjoy it, either due to hardship, theft, death. For some reason, you have produced something, but you don't get to enjoy it. Both of those would be labors in vain. How long can a tree live? Well, since my last name is Sherman, I always like to hear about the William Tecumseh Sherman tree, or the General Sherman. It's a giant sequoia, and it's estimated to be between 2,300 and 2,700 years of age. There is a Great Basin bristlecone pine, estimated to be 4,852 years old. So how long can a tree live? Pretty much as long as conditions are favorable. So when we talk about people living as long as trees, then we're talking about a restoration not only to the pre-flood conditions, to perfect conditions. Our last section, Isaiah 65:24 through 25, and it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord. I didn't catch it in my notes as I was preparing, and it just occurred to me, one of the things that my Uncle Bobby brought out was, if the serpent's still eating dust, doesn't that indicate that the serpent is still under the curse? And I thought that was a very good call out, and if that be the case, then that places this during the millennial reign. Do you ever feel like God has not heard your prayer? Verse 24 tells us God will answer before they are able to form their prayers with their lips. I thought about John 11:42 when Christ pointed out that his verbal prayers were not so that God would hear them, but so that the people around him would know that God heard him. And I knew that thou hearest me always, but because of the people which stand by, I said it, that they may believe that thou hast sent me. Something that we often do is to examine ourselves to see what it is that would keep God from hearing us. The New Testament is filled with several passages that talk about what we need to do to ensure our prayers are heard by God. It's important to us that our heart be right with God, that when we approach him, we have a communion there. Well, there's going to be such a communion during this time that the people of the earth will have as close of a relationship with God as Jesus, who is God. So we look at the lion and all of these creatures. Do cats and dogs get along? I think of stories about pets we have had, how quickly they would kill an animal that didn't belong. In many cases, that was them protecting. In other instances, it was just their hunting instinct. Can you imagine a day when the natural order will be for a lion to eat straw? God's plans are for a world without violence. We've got a lot to look forward to. We're not talking about a short time of peace as men would draw up from treaties, but we're talking about eternity in peace and in the presence of God. We look forward to a day when there will be no more death and no more sorrow. We have confidence of being eternally united with God, enjoying the blessings he has prepared for us. Today we believe, but we look forward to the day when we will see God bring peace to his creation. So the important question that I took away from this lesson is, how does the revelation of God's plan affect how you live today? Focal text for next week, we're going to be moving from Isaiah to Luke. We're in chapter 1, verses 13 through 25. Our memory verse is Luke 1:17. And he shall go before him in the spirit and power of Elias, to turn the hearts of the fathers to the children, and the disobedient to the wisdom of the just, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord. Our key doctrine will be stewardship, with scripture reference in Deuteronomy 8:18. Thank you.